Okay.
Hello, everybody, and nice to see you all. Today we're with Beatriz, and we've got this, I guess, amazing opportunity to speak to Beatriz and hear about her work and her experience and her journey, and get an insight to all the brands that she's also worked with, apart from Missoni, because she's had a really good journey. And I also taught Beatrice, which was many years ago. So you can find a little bit more about this. So first of all, I guess it would be nice to introduce you to Beatrice. And Beatrice, what would be good from you is, I guess, before we talk about Missoni, is sort of your entrance into fashion design. What happened after
Okay.
university? Because these are sort of questions that have been getting asked, and then we can go into Missoni as well.
Perfect. So, okay, let's start from the beginning, trying to make it not too long because I mean, and then when I talk about myself, it can be really, really long. So I studied in Madrid, and then I moved to London because I was really young. And there is where I met Patrick because I did a master at Marangoni. So after that, I started working for many brands like Peter Piloto, I did Emilio de la Morena, Christopher Kane, and they were all little internships where I did a bit of everything. I worked with prints, I worked designing, and then I got my first job, like my real first job, that was for Celine. So under the creative direction of Phoebe Philo. And there everything changed because I got specialized in draping. So I'm actually a draper. And that means that I work around the mannequin and that I work with fabrics directly, which I think that for illustrators is very interesting also to work a bit with the mannequin to understand how to draw properly after all the folds and everything. After Celine, I moved to Milan and I worked in leather, so making bags and accessories in this company called Fontana Milano. There is a very high luxury company, so they work for Chanel, for Loewe, for the Raw, for everyone. I don't know why I got that job because I never did accessories before, but you never know. And then after that, I started working for the Attico, which is a very cool brand from Milan, very young and very sexy in a way. So there I was always draping and designing, and was a very creative job in there because I was very free to do whatever I wanted, so very fun. And after that, I moved to Missoni, which was an incredible experience. And maybe I can start explaining you a bit about Missoni with this because Missoni is being the most difficult brand. Tell me, Patrick, you want to say something?
No, I was going to say, if you want to share any of the images about
Exactly.
Missoni,
I'm going to show you
please do
some.
share.
So working on Missoni is being, let's say, a bit difficult because Missoni is a brand full of, with a very big identity of the brand. As you might know, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. As you might know, Missoni is owned by a family, or was, or most of it, let's say most of the brand. And this family has a very strong identity. To start from the beginning, let's say here, there is the main inspiration of the brand of Missoni that is coming from art pieces of one of the members of the family. There are these carpets that are called arazzi, and everything starts from here. There are carpets for the wall. So when I started working at Missoni, the first thing I had to do is to go to the archive and understand everything because it's a really particular. The best part of it is that they can make their own fabrics, and these fabrics are unique. There are these ones. I mean, I'm gonna open it a bit bigger so you see better. This is called a Rachel. This is the main characteristic of Missoni, because it's the only brand that can make these fabrics. You have the machines inside the company, and it's super exciting because you can be like, can I have a one line blue, one brown, and it changes. So you have these ones, let me see, and this you have a whole team, an entire team just making these combinations of colors coming from the arazzi of these artists from the family. So super beautiful. With the new creation, with the new creative director, that is my part. I'm gonna show you a bit of the portfolio, maybe here. No, maybe here. Everything changed. And they try to keep this identity of Missoni, that is always this comfortable woman, this mom and daughter going to the beach. This is Angela Missoni. This is a very important picture for the brand because it is exactly what they want to, is the client of Missoni, this Italian woman with her daughter going to the beach, super chic. And she's always comfortable from the morning to the night. Let's say that the Missoni woman, she wakes up, she dresses up comfortable with this zigzag, with these special fabrics, and she can go the entire day with the look of Missoni. She can go for dinner, she can go for party, and she's always cool and right, with the right look for the brand. So here you can see some of this is the fiammato of Missoni, that is super important, because it's this machine that can make this print, and is the only machine in the world that can do it. You can see some similar stuff in the market, but is like copies or trying to become like that. I mean, this is like unique, really. These are pieces from the archive of the old Missoni, or this one. They're beautiful, and you can mix colors and you can do anything. It's like extremely creative. So with the new creative director, what they try to do, as you can see in this picture that is of the last campaign, all the colors are coming from this arazzi that I told you before. But he tries to give a bit of a woman that is more sexy and more today. She's these pictures are in a very famous club in Milan. So they are trying to give a new image of this woman that is more, let's say, fresh in a way. So I'm gonna show you a bit of the part of the portfolio maybe that is, I think, interesting, and you are gonna understand better how we used to work inside Missoni. So the first step always is to create a new mood board, and we try to make a very sensitive mood board, like about sensations, about colors, about who is this woman. She's a traveler. She's always, as I was saying before, comfortable, but she's cool, she's modern, she lives in the city, but she goes to the beach, and always looking for textures that are similar to this sensation, to these prints and patterns that Missoni creates. So the colors of the new creative director are always a bit more fresh, as I was saying before, almost primary colors, but not really, but almost. And then we used to do a second research, a bit more focused in shapes, in trying to mix the past and the future of the brand. So always with vintage pieces from the archive, but mixed to new, let's say. Yes. Here is very clear. Like, for example, this is a very Missoni dress, very much identity Missoni, with fringes and full of colors, and this is a new pattern that we were trying to do from here. So after that, for me, this is the real fun part, because after collecting some garments from the archive and some new garments from new vintage stores or from anywhere, any inspiration is valid, let's say. We used to play around the model, trying to create new shapes that the creative director was liking, or here he was asking to do some knots, haute couture knots around the model. And here, for example, this is the jumpsuit from the archive, a very vintage from the 80s, with a print of Missoni, and playing around with it. Here we created some 3D zigzag, that is as well a very important pattern of the brand, zigzags. And we tried to create like a 3D zigzag with organza, so trying to do a new intake for Missoni. the drawings are very, very, I would say, clear and clean, because the Filippo Grazioli, the creative director, he comes from haute couture almost. He comes from Givenchy, and he has a very stiff background. So he wants always drawings that are super clear for the model and for everyone to understand. So here you have more, and this is what I do. Let's say the draping that I do, that is experimental, and then it becomes, of course, more commercial. And this is another example of the fabric, of new fabrics that we were doing with the new colors. They're a bit more, fresh, I think is the right word. And this one is my favorite, for example, because this is all made out of vintage pieces. So she has a vintage dress of real Missoni, and then we wrapped around a jumpsuit that is hugging her to find like a new shape. And then it became like the main piece of the collection. You're going to see it later. So what else? So very here as well is all vintage Missoni mixed, and then we like to change the color to make it a bit more fresh. New shapes in here. Then as you can see, he was very, you have every single detail by hand with ruler, because it's the technique of Filippo Grazioli. So we were doing like that. Another very important part of the brand is all the knitwear. So they are doing always a lot of research in crochet, in new techniques of knitwear, in creating new jersey. And since they have all the machines inside the company, is the right company to experiment with fabrics and colors. Fabrics and colors is like the main identity of the brand. And what else is interesting? So the new creative director, he likes a lot to use fabrics that are a bit more modern, like lycra, for example. So this is an example with prints that are more graphic and a bit less brownish as all the Missoni. But it's difficult because you have to keep both of the intakes. Here you see the last, the one I show you with the body wrapped around. So you can see very, very good how it came out. This is a fiammata that I was telling you before that in a way looks a bit like a zebra. So he took this idea of a new Missoni jungle in a way. So you could use the zebra, these patterns as animals. And then in the other part that I was working a lot with as well, you can see the more graphic of the zigzag print. The only problem with these pictures is that these are in an incredible embroidery that you cannot see anything, but was beautiful with the zigzag, with a new intake of the zigzag, let's say. And well, pretty much this is, I don't have that much in the portfolio about Missoni because I have to keep on working. But this is the main part that I have at the moment. I don't know if it's clear, if you have any question about what I show you or...
Yeah, so I guess for me is a few things. One is print development, because
Yes.
obviously you have different divisions. And what is your involvement in print development? Because you're doing design development.
Exactly. At the end was very big. Sorry, tell me, you didn't
No,
finish?
I'm just wondering how much movement you have between divisions.
A lot. I mean, at the end at Missoni, I was the head designer of the show. So when you are head designer, you have to basically be like a kind of advisor next to the creative director. So I was working a lot with prints as well, even if I was not really making them myself. There was a print designer. So we were guiding the print designer somehow. And I think there was a lot about taking from the archive and from the Arazzi of Luca Missoni, I think it is, yes, and remaking them new. So experimenting was very graphic as well, I think, and experimenting with that. I mean, the team was very big at Missoni, so everyone had a bit of a position there as well. Everyone was participating together, and now I think they are making a bigger team of prints because it's something that the brand needs so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main job is always there to go to the archive and take old prints and make them new with colors and yes, and experimenting.
And because I've had other sort of people working at Burberry and other brands where it's more about style, where
Yes,
Missoni seems about design. And because I can't remember, I was speaking to a previous client and they were saying that before they started to design, they worked at the style of the look
yes,
over so the design wasn't even questioned. It was like, how are we going to style this person? So they would find existing garments that potentially might inform the design, and then they would style it, and they would look at like the bag, everything that might inform the design, and then they would design around it. Where I think at Missoni, it's more about the fabric,
yes,
the person, and then there's a core element of design. And then
yes,
probably, we look at the Harley Weirs and photographers that end up photographing,
it's true.
Missoni. And I just feel that Missoni is very design led rather than style
Yes.
led.
You are totally right. Actually, the first thing when you arrive to Missoni that they explain you is that you start designing with fabrics because they make all the fabrics internally. You have to do it a lot in advance. So you create before fabrics, patterns, colors, and you work for a few months just in creating the new textures. And then you start with all the shapes and the silhouettes and but is before, I mean, you spend more time working in fabrics and in patterns and designing all these colors as well. I mean, creating all this mix of colors that is, I mean, like really months and months of work.
And
And then they go for style and for the rest of it. Yes.
and when you're, I guess another thing is, as you're there with the creative director, when you're thinking about how this is communicated through advertisements, um, how involved are you within the advertising side of it, like the style and the story and the narrative that you
Yes.
looked at, like natural materials and rocks, and you're looking at seaweed or whatever as your inspiration. Does that
Well,
inform, like when it kind of goes in, or is it the designers are over here, then it goes to this person, and then they go wild with bringing in a
yes.
stylist? I don't. You let me know.
In a way, it's kind of frustrating actually, because yes, the designing part finish at a point, and then you see the advertisement campaign just arriving somehow. I mean, there is the team of communication taking care of it. And I had the chance that, I mean, the creative director was really trusting me. So he was always asking like, what do you think if we use these looks for the creative campaign, also for the advertisement campaign? Or he was asking for sure an opinion, not just to me, actually, to every designer, to all of them. He likes to hear a lot about what we think of it. But then the communication team is taking all our work and creating a whole story of it, and sometimes it changes 100%. And we were inspired in the beach and in a mom and a woman and a daughter, and then they appear in a club. It can change so much. I mean, yes, it's so weird, but it's exciting at the same time, because sometimes when you design, you are not thinking about the advertisement campaign, you are thinking about making beautiful clothes. Then someone else arrives, and an amazing stylist arrives. Lorenzo Pozzetto was the stylist of Missoni, and he was doing a great job mixing garments and doing things that I never thought of. So I think it's the work of many people together. Yes.
Um, and I guess what would be nice in a sec, because just to let everybody know why Beatrice is quite important to this, is a lot of freelancers. So, you worked as a freelancer. So I guess what would be quite nice, Beatrice, is kind of to go back to your portfolio and sort of run through some of the projects. And some people have asked, how do you get these opportunities to work for Celine? Like, what did you do? Like, how did it happen?
Okay. Yeah, this is the best question. So, but I have an advice actually, because many people ask me, and it's something that I'm gonna show you a few things. Maybe I start from the end.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start from the very beginning, from here, from Celine. That was the first company that I worked for. So I think the most important thing for sure, 100%, is to have a beautiful portfolio. So it changes everything. Is what you send when you say when you want to apply to a position, and the portfolio is something that is changing all the time. It gets old super fast and super easily. So actually, right now I'm working in my portfolio because I want to look for new opportunities. Like, for example, I think it's important to choose as well what you are. You cannot do everything. I did accessorize. I worked with prints, with everything, and then I realized that what I like the most is to drape. So I did the entire portfolio focus in draping. So if they look for a draper, they know it's me. So I'm the best draper. And so here, for example, at Celine, we had a different approach to how to design. And as you see, all the pictures are very much of models with clothes, because I was literally sewing all these garments. She didn't draw at all. She didn't like drawings. And so it was very difficult because you had to sew. And not everyone is able to sew. Some people prefers to draw, or, I mean, these drawings, I did them later because I know I have to have drawings in my portfolio. But was completely 3D design. And that's what created actually the path of my career. So something very interesting, as you can see here, I have a lot of notes in the beginning of my portfolio. And when I arrived to many of the brands, they ask me to do notes. They are like, can you drape some Celine shapes? So what you show in your portfolio is basically what you can do the best. So I advise to everyone 100% to spend so much time in presenting and having a beautiful, clean portfolio that shows your skills and what you want to do as well in the future, and your taste with it. I mean, I didn't draw at Celine, but I add all these drawings because I can draw. So I want people to know that I can do that as well, of course. Let me see if so this part of the portfolio is very much of exactly experimenting with fabrics, and is what I like to do, so it's perfect. So I show you a bit. So these are the collections I worked in Celine. Here, for example, in all the prints design that I didn't add it in the portfolio because I don't want to get anyone confused. I participate a lot in them, and they are coming as well from vintage pieces, from markets, and so a lot of research, always a lot of research. Then it's very difficult to show everything in your portfolio, but I think it's important that you have something clean and almost like a magazine that people likes to look. I mean, I had people. I saw many portfolios, and I think many. I think you too, Patrick.
Yep.
And I think the most okay, let's look at Attico. The most important thing is to show your intake, your personal intake of what you do. So at Attico, I'm gonna show you is a bit more fun, like less serious than Celine, and I show always the same technique in the portfolio. Like in a side you have the mood board, in the other side you have the color palette, and then you have the second research of garments, and then you have always in the left my drapings, and in the right your drawings. But why? Because I did this portfolio like that because it's a kind of book that I look at as well while I work. So sometimes I'm like, oh, let's look at that drape that I did in 2000 and blah, blah, blah. Let's look how I did it. So it's a kind of a personal archive as well. It's not just something I use to look for a job, but it's something that I look at while I work. This is a very short version of it, actually, because the real one is really, really long, but it's always the same layout, so you cannot get lost. Maybe you get bored, I don't know, now I'm gonna change it a bit, but you see every kind of fabrics and every kind of technique. So in Attico, we were drawing a bit more creatively. They didn't care about how we were drawing. They were like, just give me good ideas. So it was very fun because you could do anything. And then we would take care with the modelista how to do them properly. So now that I look at them, I'm a bit embarrassed because now I'm a better. But well, it's fine. And you are all super good artists, but well. So you have the mix of both, yes. So
But
I don't know.
I guess so. What I'm also trying to get across, because when I've known you for a while, and I knew about your art and drawing and knowledge for drawing, and I guess we have a lot of illustrators on here and textile designers and
Yeah.
art creatives. How drawing was fundamental to your work. I remember like at college, you really pushed art. You were heavily
Yes.
into art mostly, and we've heard a lot of people going for jobs in luxury fashion houses because they love the when you can draw. Like Dior loves drawing, like
Mhm.
Missoni probably loves. Everyone loves to see that within
Yes,
your work,
for
and
sure.
I guess for me, showing your work is really to solidify to people that there is other options for illustrators to work in fashion houses as
It's
craft
true.
people, as drawers, to help visualize images. Like we have another one from Ralph Lauren. She was just an illustrator who was similar, and she drew, and then she moved into design. So there's a real interplay that you have the core ingredients. You have, and if you're a good artist, you tend to have good taste. You have good
Yeah.
style. They kind of all come together. Uh,
Yes, I agree.
you notice that those who are really good at drawing and illustrating or doing good fashion drawings, they have a good sense of color, they have a good
It's
sense of
true.
taste, and I think they all kind of come together. So why I really liked about your work is your ability to draw. And I knew you had like because the mood boards, lots of people can do cool mood boards, but it's nice that you have the 360 ingredient.
Yes, it's true. Actually, when I moved to Italy, I was really surprised because they draw so much. And but so much, and people in the beginning was like, yeah, I don't care about your drapes, you have to draw it. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but what I want is a draw. I mean, I want an illustration. I want you to do it 2D, so I had to work a lot in my illustration skills, because there is people really, really good at it in Italy. They work like that, they are focused in that. So was another challenge. Like, okay, I'm a good illustrator, but I have to really become better. Like, this is nothing. So that's why in Missoni, in the last part of my career, let's say, I had to change 100% really my technique and everything. And that's why you see in the whole portfolio, like, I'm trying, I'm experimenting some parts. And I also agree very much with what you said about having good taste is to know about art, to be interested in culture, in everything that is happening around you. So you are able to pick the right elements and do a mix with taste, no? That mix that is with taste now, not yesterday and tomorrow, but today.
Um, and because I know you have a good understanding of many things, if because we're trying to think about how because we have two sides to what we're considering as a brief for Missoni. One is more about the design side because I think it's quite important, like what you're
Yes.
doing, and then there's the creative side of how you translate it through illustration. Because think of Bali, think of all the brands that have used illustration within their process. And we're trying to inform or influence brands like we've seen Versace using illustration recently. Um, if Missoni was to integrate illustration into its communication, what
I think would be amazing, actually, would be beautiful.
it's the perfect brand for it. And I'm
Perfect.
just trying to think any sort of I don't know if you've got any sort of tips or things that you thought, Missoni really likes this. Like you were speaking about very vibrant colors is very
Yes.
relevant now. Do they prefer something more graphic? Like you were talking about graphic. And when they're looking at communication or looking at art, is there anything that they look at to inform their, like, are they looking at Greco? Are they looking at Caravaggio? Are they looking at David Hockney? Where do they look? Or do they look everywhere?
So I think since colors are important and fabrics in Missoni, I think, but always the collaboration with art is being important as well. Is a very connected brand with what is happening in Milan. It's a very Milanese brand. So I think that any situation that is happening there now, like exhibitions or interior design, Missoni has the home design as well. I mean, the home part, the home Missoni, which is beautiful and works a lot. They sell so much, everyone loves it. And we work together with the interior design team really often, especially for the campaigns and yeah, especially for the campaigns and the show and everything. I mean, it's always full of furniture of Missoni. And the furniture of Missoni is as well very connected with art because they do collaborations in exhibitions, with other companies of Milan of design. I think is very much connected with Italian design and with Italian art, and something colorful for sure. Graphics as well. The new creative director is trying to make it a bit more graphic, less brown. Before, Missoni was, that I love it actually, was kind of dark always, no? Kind of mysterious. And now he really wants to make something more like modern art, I would say, more graphic, more shiny colors, light colors as well, less brown and black, but more pink and yellow and blue and all these very shiny colors. So I would for sure say interior design is super important for the brand, and art, especially what happens around the city. So if you get to check some exhibitions, and we always collaborate with some artists, or I don't remember now an artist. I mean, we did an entire collection inspired in Sotsas. So that he was a designer of Milan in the 70s or 60s, Ettore Sotsas.
Yes.
And his colors were very like yellow, black, blue, and red, and so that was a good example. For example, a Sotsas, but we already did that. But they are open to different ones. So I think anything that is connected with Italian design and with Italian. Milanese more than Italian. Milanese taste is good.
Yeah, and like, because I was doing some research and I was looking at old Ovoletti typewriter ads and looking at what the graphic designers do of the past. And Italians are so proud that they really love other Italians.
Exactly.
So they really look within. They wouldn't go, oh, well, there's this great Parisian designer.
No, never.
They always are informed by Italians, and they'll say this great Italian graphic designer,
exactly,
printmaker, and I think so. I guess that's a really good point. Is that when you're looking at your illustrations or your drawings, really look at over history, like graphic designers, artists, people that really have informed the visual language of, I guess, the communication of Italy, to really help you kind of, right, okay, that could inspire me. What shapes did they use? How did they use typefaces? And then it really connects quite well. And the Italians will spot it because they'll say, I saw that. My granddad did that. My granddad had it on the wall. So I think that's a good point, is that rather than looking at Parisian brands or English brands, really
Yes,
look at Italian creatives.
100%. Totally
Right.
agree.
Good.
Exactly. I was thinking of, for example, there is when Gucci was doing all the with Alessandro Michele was doing all the advertisement campaigns with illustrations around the city. He also picked an Italian guy. You are right. The illustrator is Ignasi something, no? Ignasi.
Oh
Do you
yes, yes.
know
The
name?
illustrator for that did Gucci.
Exactly. He was Italian as well. He's
Ignatius.
from Rome. You're right.
Ignatius.
Exactly.
Someone else can remind me his surname, but yeah,
That one.
he's super famous.
Exactly. He's
And I think
super Rome, and Gucci was Rome, so it was perfect. You're right.
yes, yes. So I guess he's one of the biggest sort of illustrators of the moment. He's kind of
Okay.
gone more into art and he's painting on ceramics and if
Exactly.
anyone sees, he did the Gucci Casino. He's
It's
done
true.
lots of stuff. So I can't remember his surname, but if anyone's got any questions, you could either put it on the chat or you can call out. And we
I'm
can
gonna
stop if you stop sharing, Beatrice, so
exactly. I'm gonna stop sharing.
we can see you.
I
But
forgot.
I guess the good thing about Beatrice is not only that she works for all these brands and has this knowledge, and you know, there's a real someone who's freelanced as well. That's quite an important part, is someone who can go in like an illustrator. Most of the illustrators are freelancers, so they come in and they disappear and they go again and then come again. So it's quite a good one. So if anyone has questions, if you don't, it's fine. I'm just aware of Beatrice's time. You could either put it in the chat or you can ask me later.
Oh, so
Um,
nice, this one.
so I guess Beatrice, you know, thanks for your time firstly. And
Thank
secondly,
you.
you know, once we've gone through the project and we review it at the end, you know, because I know you have all of this experience and we were talking about other potential Missoni people as well coming along.
Yes,
So,
yes, I hope. I think I'm gonna, for sure, I'm gonna get
women's wear,
someone.
yeah. So
Yes, you just need to
we,
find a slot.
we'll keep that top secret. We don't want to tell them. So that's our little secret.
Okay.
But Beatrice, thank you for everything. I can see a question. They're just saying thank you. So
Okay.
yes, so if you, I don't know how if anyone wanted to follow you, are you on Instagram? What could we do if we want to
Yes,
see
for
more
sure. I mean,
Beatrice?
I'm on Instagram. I'm not very active, but I'm changing. So
Okay.
I will be. So I can write it here. And yeah, you can text me, of course, even if you have questions in few days, or I don't mind. I'm
Yeah.
used to, I write it here, no? Bea Meren. So this is my Instagram, but yeah, I promise I'll be active from now on.
Okay. And there's one question here from, well, I guess it's for me. Any suggestions on how to look for clients as a freelancer? So if you've been a freelancer and you were talking to me about different brands you've been speaking to as well, what do you do? How do you communicate to these people? What would I do? You're advising me, I want to go and get a job like you. What do I do?
Okay, so basically, I think the most important thing is to contact every headhunter in the world. So you need to speak with headhunters. In the fashion industry, I think headhunters are really helping. So you present your work to you, it's their job, you know, so they are happy to meet new people. You are not bothering them, you are not texting like designers in other companies. You just introduce yourself politely to headhunters, showing your portfolio and saying what you want, so they don't call you as well for wrong opportunities. And I think is the easiest way. Personally, I even write people in. I mean, very important to don't be, I think, to don't bother people because they are working and etc. But I introduce myself as well sometimes directly through LinkedIn or through emails that I find, and no problem. The only difficult thing is that you have to do it a lot and very often. You don't send one email and you get an answer. You have to send 50 emails and then you send an answer. But yeah, I would say headhunters and HRs in LinkedIn for sure. Yes.
And when you say headhunters, who are they?
That's that's the best question ever because it's super difficult to find them. So there are a few very important, like there is Alice Boulot in France, and she is called Alice Boulot. So you can just write her in LinkedIn, in Instagram, no, in LinkedIn. Or there are some very famous. There is as well, how is it called? Sterling International is a company of headhunters as well. You can email them and they're gonna for sure answer. I can send you a list because now by
Yes.
heart is difficult, but I can send you for sure the list.
Yes, please, because this is something I must admit, I've never had to go through this channel. So
It's so difficult.
yeah, so going through the headhunters so are they like agencies or
Yes,
right? So
they
they're
are
agencies
agencies.
that target luxury brands or certain brands.
Exactly. Basically, Loewe, for example, calls Alice Boulon and says, I'm looking for a fashion designer or whatever, find her. And Loewe is paying the headhunter. So it's totally free for designers and for illustrators or for anyone. Is a company who is paying, so is perfect. I mean, sometimes you have just to be careful. I give an advice. There is okay. There is a question, sorry. How can we have some suggestion for fashion show set design? Oh, that one is difficult.
But you, Beatrice, would be good at that as well.
I would love to do that
Like,
actually.
like set design, and we've had lots of illustrators now, like Peter Paris, and working with Victor and Rolf.
I would love
And
that.
I guess set design. I'm trying to remember his name. There's a few famous British ones who've worked with LVMH, and I'm trying to remember his name. But there's lots of set designers. I had a
Yeah,
few designers come in when I was at Marangoni to give classes, who were working with many different, more on fashion shoots. So what you should do, as that's a good question, is if you want to find out more about set design, one is to assist a set designer.
for sure.
That's what I would do to get to know about set design and look on editorials in magazines.
It's
I
true.
think that's a quicker place because they won't be on an advert. So usually if you go and look at editorials in any fashion magazine, they'll say set designed by this person. And I think that would be an easy route to market, to see who they bring in. You know, I was looking at building set design, visual merchandising, that they all sort of link in. And
Yes, for sure.
there's a few big companies that are doing, like Louis Vuitton. I've seen them. They're in Spain, a big company, and you'll find them on Instagram. I've seen them on Instagram. So
I think that Missoni has a lot of set design as well. For the show, actually, in the show, there was a lot of work about with what I was saying before, with all the interior design team. And because it was internal in the company, in that case, they used to work with the design, with the interior design team. But I think it's a big part as well of the company.
yeah, and I guess show design is everything has areas, and they like if
Yeah.
you think of Prada's working with Rem Koolhaas, they try to use architects who will build the space. The illustrator will add as a decorative element. It's very rare that they'll build the space. Paris do a lot of stuff with Prada as well, and Miu Miu. So I think Paris are really good to see for set design
Yes.
and experimental set design. But I guess, you know, these are all lots of big questions. But as Beatrice said, if you've got any questions, you could either ask them to me. I'm in communication with Beatrice, or you can find her on LinkedIn or wherever. She's around, and we've got her Instagram now, so we can attack her. Whether she answers or not, we never know. But Beatrice, thank you for this.
No,
You
thank
know,
you.
it's a pleasure to see your work, and it's always great. And you know, I remember as a student, you had much more arty work. It was more
Right?
arty. It's become a little bit more, you know,
It's true.
ready for work, basically. But you know, thanks so much, and you know, it's great to see a portfolio in action, because I think that's what people want to see. So
It's true.
thank you,
It's true.
Beatrice, and
Thank you so much. My
have a
pleasure.
good day. And it's been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye,
Super.
everyone.
Bye bye,
Thank you
Beatrice.
so
Thank you.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye.